Hi, I'm Sherry. I'm posting this video log because I'm actually going through the process of getting diagnosed. The most likely candidate is primary progressive MS, what used to be known as spinal MS. But we don't have a formal diagnosis yet since it is a diagnosis of exclusion. So we're going through the excluding process. And it's really not fun. It's been very frustrating. So I work in healthcare, and I have some experience with the diagnostic process. I've been extremely blessed to be very healthy, so I've always been on the other side. So it's interesting to be dealing with something significant and to be on the side of experiencing that. It's very humbling. And so anyway, my symptoms started 4 years ago, but I didn't know they were symptoms. The symptoms that I did start to notice started about 2 years ago. I started to notice a fine tremor when I was reaching for things, and I looked it up. And, you know, the underlying theme whenever I would look stuff up would say neurological, and I would just gloss right over that because I was healthy. I was otherwise healthy. So I looked it up, and it said a movement tremor is not normal. And I said, but I don't have any other symptoms, so it's probably nothing. I showed it to my mom. We said stress or caffeine, and I just kept going. And about 2 years prior to that, I had started to have this weird syncope disequilibrium, as the texts would call it. I didn't know what it was. I just thought I was having a seizure. Every time I stood up and stretched, everything would go black. My vision would would vibrate. My body would just feel like it was tingling and twitching, and I would end up leaning on the desk or on the floor. So I stopped stretching like that. I was having a lot of foot pain, a lot of foot tightness. I thought it was because of my job. So I just did more massages and rolled out my feet with a little foam, with the little roller balls. And that seemed to help. But about 2 years ago, no, about a year and a half ago, I started to notice some balance problems at the gym, and I work out about 6 days a week, cardio and weights. I snowboard avidly, like passionately. And I had started to notice some balance problems, so I slapped on an ankle brace. And then in January of this year, I slapped on another ankle brace. And in March or so, I added 2 knee braces to that. I thought it was orthopedic at that point. I thought maybe my gait had gotten very much misaligned. I felt like I was running buzzed on the treadmill. I felt like my left side was weaker. It felt like the 2 halves of my body were completely different. The left side, I felt like I had to just think about lifting my leg, and the right side just seemed to know what it was doing still. So the first consult I asked for was a sports medicine consult, and before the consult, I started to have some falls and coordination problems, and I was noticing more tremors at work and problems with paper, shuffling through paper. Anyway, to long story short, those were the initial symptoms that had been happening. The tightness and the contracture was progressing on the right side. It was 2 hours of rolling out to feel like I had anything close to a normal range of motion. I just knew whatever I was aggressively trying, was not helping. I fell. One of the falls, I wrenched my back. They did a CT. It was abnormal. I had some periventricular spaces that were enlarged on the left side. But they said, well, we'll follow up in 6 months if you have no other neurological symptoms. So I went home and I was like, okay. And then the light bulb came on and I said, wait a minute. All of these are potentially. So I contacted my primary, and she put me in touch with a MS specialist. She's very thorough, but it's been very, very slow going. I think she's not going to put a label on it until there's something there. The MRI of the head was negative for anything else, any lesions. She did an MRI of the cervical spine. It didn't show anything. But that doesn't rule out the possibility that there are subclinical lesions. From what the literature says, they only find lesions in, I think, 85% of patients with MS. at the initial time of presentation. She also did a thoracic spine MRI, which it's even less common that you find stuff there initially, and that was negative. So I saw her about 3.5 months ago. So things have gotten worse. I've had trouble wearing heels. It takes a lot of energy to wear heels, and I've worn them my whole life because I'm 4'11". I have a really hard time with any kind of weight on my back. I start walking like I'm a drunken sailor, like side to side, broad-based gait. So I finally downgraded to a rolling backpack to put my laptop in. No more heels either. I still will try to wear them when I go out, but I have to watch the ground constantly, like constantly. So I saw her again yesterday, and she said there's been deterioration. She said I have ataxia, which is muscle and movement and coordination. She wants to do a lumbar puncture. So that's the next step, is to do a lumbar puncture, I guess. And, you know, I feel like I already know what's going on. But like I told my primary, it was really hard to sit in the room in the beginning and look healthy and tell them, look, something is going on here. And I don't go into the doctor often, and something's going on. And to feel like they, you know, that they thought it was in my head, that was really challenging because I don't go into the doctor. I won't unless I really need to, unless it's my preventative health care. So anyway, so that's where we're at. If anyone else is going through this journey, I just want to encourage you to keep going, because ultimately, like I've always told my patients, we know our own bodies. We know what's normal, and we know what's not normal. And other than the small percentage of people who, you know, may have a tendency to sort of really over-exaggerate minor symptoms, I think the majority of people, when they know something's wrong, they know something's wrong. And if there are any physicians or nurse practitioners or PAs out there, I just encourage you to just listen to your patients and trust them, even if it seems far-fetched. So if this turns out to not be MS, then I'll let you guys know. Maybe it's just a really long 4-year progressive stroke. I don't know. But anyway, I just want to say thank you to the people that have posted their videos. Because when they talk about their initial symptoms and how mild and minor they were, it's given me encouragement to keep pushing for inquiry on this. And it's made me feel like, okay, this is worthwhile and I'm not alone. So thanks.